The unexpected war. The war started with a simple spark, one unknown planet, one broken rule, and one human. Captain Reese Carter never wanted war. He was a field medic, not a soldier. His job was to save lives, not take them. But when the Terran fleet entered the Krellian zone without permission, everything changed. The Krellians didn't give warnings. They attacked instantly. Their ships came from nowhere, black, silent, like shadows in space. Lasers cut through metal like paper. The first Terran ship exploded before anyone could even fire back. Reese barely made it into an escape pod. When he woke up, everything was quiet. His pod had crashed on a strange jungle planet. Green sky, violet, trees and giant flowers that pulsed like hearts. He was bleeding from the head, dizzy and alone. "Okay, not dead yet," he muttered. He grabbed the emergency kit and started patching himself up. That's when he heard a voice, not from a speaker, not human, real, close. "Do not move, Death Worlder." He turned slowly. A figure stood there, tall, female, glowing silver armor and eyes like ice, alien. She held a strange scanning device and stared at him like he was some ancient ghost. "What are you?" she asked. "A medic," he replied. "Human. Name's Reese." She scanned him, then froze. "That's impossible." She stepped back. "You should be dead." Reese blinked. "Good to know." She looked truly shocked. "Your vitals are critical, oxygen low, toxins in your blood, bone fracture in your leg, brain trauma." "Yeah," Reese said casually. "That checks out." "Then how are you still alive?" He looked at her calmly. "I'm from Earth." She stared, then whispered half to herself, "Death Worlders." She didn't shoot him. Instead, she knelt beside him and studied his body, still confused. "Your biology and fights death like it's a rival." "Well, it usually loses," Reese smirked, "but not today." She pulled out a tube of green liquid and pressed it to his neck. "What's that?" he asked. "Not poison if that's what you're thinking." She injected it. Pain hit him like fire, but it faded fast. His vision cleared. His bones ached less. "You're healing me? I want to see how far your kind can go." Reese sat up. "So we're not killing each other now?" "I'm not sure." She stood and looked into the jungle. "But your war has reached the wrong place. This planet is sacred, neutral." "Didn't know that." "You do now." They sat in silence for a moment. Rain began to fall. Strange glowing drops from a dark sky. "You still haven't told me your name," he said. "Virathari," she answered. "Krellian Sentinel. I was sent to investigate the wreckage. I expected corpses, not this." She looked at him again, more carefully this time. Not like a soldier, not like an enemy, like someone curious, maybe even impressed. "You should not exist," she whispered. "Yet here I am." Above them, in low orbit, more ships arrived. But this time, they weren't just Krellian. They weren't just human. Something darker was coming. And Reese? He was the only thing standing between the sacred world and full-scale destruction. The Krellian's dilemma. Virathari stood in silence, her silver armor glowing faintly in the alien rain. The human, Reese Carter, sat nearby, resting against the base of a twisted tree. His breathing was still uneven, but his body had stabilized. The green healing serum worked better than she expected, even on a Terran. "You are strange," she finally said. Reese gave a weak smile. "You say that like it's a bad thing." She didn't reply. Instead, her eyes focused on the small data crystal she held in her hand. It blinked red, an urgent message from Krellian High Command. She didn't want to open it, because she already knew what it would say. Reese leaned forward. "Bad news? They know I found you. And they've issued a purge order. No survivors, no prisoners. Even on a neutral planet? Especially on a neutral planet?" She looked at him again. "If I follow orders, I kill you." Reese didn't flinch. Then what's stopping you? Virathari's jaw tightened. That's the dilemma. Back on her ship, her mission was clear. Locate the Terran wreckage, identify any survivors, eliminate all. But now that she had seen Reese, bleeding, breathing, joking, fighting to live, something inside her felt off. She turned away from him. Her mind was trained for logic, but her gut whispered something different. You're not what they said humans are, she muttered. What did they say? Reese asked. That you destroy everything you touch. Well, he shrugged. Some of us fix things too. She paused. Why were you even on that ship? I'm not a soldier. I'm a medic. I was on a supply. Run. So you weren't trying to invade? I was trying to get painkillers to a mining colony. Virathari blinked. That didn't sound like a threat. Suddenly, her communicator lit up. Incoming transmission. Sentinel Virathari, confirm status. She didn't reply. The voice continued. We detect human life forms. Confirm elimination or request reinforcements. She turned to Reese. He stared back, silent, waiting. Not begging, not pleading, just ready. She clicked the comms. No human. Presence detected. Wreckage confirmed. No survivors. Copy that. Return to orbit for extraction. She shut it off. Silence again. You lied, Reese whispered. Yes. Why? She stepped closer, then knelt beside him. Because for the first time, I saw a human bleed and not scream. You saw pain. I saw courage. She handed him a beacon. This will call my shuttle. I'll say it's for salvage. You'll board. You'll leave. No questions. What about you? I'll say I stayed behind to finish the mission. I'll delete the record. And your people? Let them believe what they want. Reese took the beacon. You don't have to do this. Neither did you, when you helped your enemies live. For the first time she smiled. Not wide, not soft, but real. Maybe that's the problem, she said. You weren't supposed to survive. And now that you have, I'm not sure which side I'm on anymore. Above them, the clouds began to break. Sunlight spilled across the jungle. It didn't feel like war anymore. It felt like something was changing. The shuttle that never came. The jungle felt different now, quieter, like it was listening. Reese Carter sat beside a mossy log, holding the Krellian beacon in his hand. It blinked once every 10 seconds, soft, cold blue. Still nothing, he muttered. Virathari stood nearby, arms crossed, eyes on the sky. It should have arrived by now. Sure this isn't a trap? She didn't answer. That was enough of an answer. She pulled out her communicator and tried again. This is Sentinel Virathari. Confirm salvage shuttle request. Location beacon active. Respond. Static. Then a reply. Request denied. Her jaw clenched. Explain. Updated. Directive contain area. Do not extract secondary purge unit en route. Reese heard it. He stood slowly. What's that mean? They're not sending help, she said flatly. They're sending something worse. Let me guess. Contain is Krellian for wipe everything off the map? Correct. For a long moment, neither moved. Rain began to fall again, gentle, drops tapping against armor, skin, and leaves. They think I've been compromised, she said quietly. Have you? She looked at him, and for the first time since the crash, hesitated. Yes. She pulled a knife from her side holster and handed it to Reese. You'll need it. You're giving me a weapon? You've already survived a crash, a shattered leg, and toxic spores. At this point, a blade seems fair. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're serious about this purge team? They won't ask questions, and they won't stop if they see me helping you. They moved fast, through thick vines, over mossy ground, past glowing fungi and whispering trees. Every few minutes, Vera would stop and scan the horizon. Nothing yet. but they were coming. "If you didn't report me alive," Reese said between breaths. "How did they find out?" Vera froze. Her eyes narrowed. Someone else is watching. Another Krellian? Or something worse? She pulled him into a hidden cave behind a waterfall. Her scanner pulsed red. Thermals. Closing fast. How many? 2. No transponder. Not Krellian military. Mercs? Could be. But mercs don't travel in pairs on purge missions. Then what? Vera looked at him, her voice flat. Hunters. Reese tightened the grip on the knife. We're the prey? Only if we act like it. Inside the cave, Vera quickly carved out a defense plan. She placed mines, made from her armor's power cells. She set up noise traps with broken vines and chirping insects. Reese, despite the pain, helped, his medical training adapting fast to guerrilla survival. "You're not bad for someone who almost died yesterday," she said. "You're not bad for someone who was supposed to kill me." They shared a look, no smile, just respect. Then came the sound, footsteps, but heavier than boots. Growling but electronic, voices, distorted, hollow. The hunters had arrived. Vera signaled silence. They waited. 1 second, 5, 20, then, boom. The first trap exploded, sending sparks through the night. One hunter screamed, metallic and broken. The other entered the cave, eyes glowing red, blades drawn. It locked eyes with Reese, then lunged. A human shouldn't be that fast. The hunter lunged, metal arms flashing, blades spinning, red eyes locked on its target. Reese Carter didn't wait. He moved. Fast, too fast. He ducked low, rolled under the swipe, and came up behind the hunter. With one smooth motion, he stabbed Vera's blade between the machine's armor plates at the neck. Sparks exploded. The hunter twitched, glitched, then dropped like dead weight. Vera Thari blinked, her voice low. That was not possible. Reese stood up, breathing hard, eyes alert. Adrenaline. That was reflex speed beyond your species' norm. He shrugged. I'm just built different. Before she could reply, the second hunter's death scream echoed outside the cave. The traps worked. Barely. They emerged cautiously, smoke rising from the forest. The first light of dawn broke through the green sky. They weren't Krellian, Reese said. Why send hunters? Vera crouched beside the wrecked body. The armor bore no crest, but the tech was advanced, far beyond Krellian models. This was black market, she said. Third party. Someone else knows I'm alive. Someone paid to make sure you didn't stay that way. She scanned deeper into the system. Her eyes narrowed. Encrypted signal, long range. From orbit. Not yours? No. She looked up slowly. You're not just a medic, are you? Reese stayed silent, then finally spoke. I was. And now? Now I'm what they call a classified mistake. Vera stared at him. Explain. Earth started a program. They wanted medics who could survive any battlefield. Heal under fire, keep breathing when others dropped. Experimental? Everything injected in me was banned 2 years later. Vera stepped back. You're not a normal human. Not anymore. That's why you're alive. Yeah. And why they want you dead. Probably. For the first time, Vera felt it. Not fear, but doubt. Everything she thought she knew about humans was breaking. They weren't weak. They weren't predictable, and some, like him, weren't even fully explainable. How much longer until they send more? Reese asked. Hours, maybe less. Then we run? Vera shook her head. We stop running. You're too dangerous to leave roaming. So what now? She looked at him. We end it before they try again. Together. Together. Above them, in orbit, a cloaked ship tracked their signal. Inside, a voice whispered, He's still alive. Another answered, Then prepare the final team. Back on the ground, Vera tightened her armor and handed Reese a small plasma blaster. "It's not Terran tech," she said. "Might burn your hand." "Then I'll shoot fast." They moved back into the trees, not as predator and prey, but as a unit, and behind them the sun rose, onto a new kind of war. They called him unkillable. The jungle was quiet again. Too quiet. Every step Reese and Vera took was slow, careful. The trees around them whispered like they knew what was coming. Vera held her scanner close. Multiple signals, 6 incoming, different formation. These are professionals. Reese tightened the grip on his plasma blaster. "Let me guess, same people who sent the hunters?" "No," she said grimly. "These ones are worse. These are cleansers." Reese stopped walking. "Cleansers?" "If they find a threat too dangerous to study, they erase everything. Forest, bodies, witnesses. And you?" "I'm now a witness," she looked at him seriously. "They won't hesitate to kill me too. I lied to command. I aided you. I'm now tainted." Reese didn't blink. "Then I guess we fight, like we've got nothing to lose." Vera stared at him for a moment, then nodded. "There's an old Krellian drop base nearby, abandoned since the border war. If we reach it, we can send a jamming pulse to delay their trackers. Then we use that time to set a trap?" "Exactly." They moved quickly. Every sound in the forest now felt like a heartbeat. But as they walked, Vera kept glancing sideways, at Reese. "You should have died 3 times by now." "I've heard that before." "The injection, what did it change?" Reese didn't answer at first. Then quietly, "It taught my body to refuse death." She frowned. "Explain." "When I lose blood, my cells rebuild. When I break bones, my body hardens. I feel pain, but it doesn't stop me. That's not healing, that's mutation. That's why they shut the program down." They reached the old drop base, metal walls half buried in vines and roots. Inside, Reese powered up the console. Lights flickered. "Still alive," he muttered, "just like him." Vera stood watch while he worked. Then she heard it. Footsteps, multiple, quiet, controlled. She turned sharply. "They're already here." "How many?" "Too many," Reese grinned. "Then they're the unlucky ones." Vera watched as he stood fully upright, shoulders square, stance firm. For the first time, she saw it. This man wasn't just surviving. He was built to fight. "You're not a medic," she whispered. "I was. Now I'm just the result of a failed experiment." "They call you something, don't they?" Reese looked at her, eyes calm. "Back on Earth, they called me unkillable." The doors blasted open. 6 armed figures stormed in, clean, silent, deadly. But Reese didn't move. He raised the blaster. Fired once, then ran straight into the chaos. The battle was brutal. Fast. Vera joined the fight, moving like a shadow beside him. They fought like they'd known each other for years. And when the smoke cleared, only 2 were still standing, covered in ash, breathing heavy, alive. Vera stared at the bodies. "You didn't even flinch." "Didn't have time to." "You're not a soldier, Reese, you're a weapon." He looked at her, not proud, not cold, just honest. "They made me one." Outside, the remaining ships hovered overhead. More were coming. But now, Reese wasn't hiding anymore. Her commanders gave one order: kill him. The base was quiet again. Only the hum of broken tech and the distant sound of dripping water filled the silence. Reese leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Blood ran down his side, but he didn't seem to notice. Vera stood across from him, staring down at her communicator. It was blinking red. A direct message from High Command. She didn't want to open it, but she had to. Urgent, Sentinel Verathari. Execute Subject 47B, Terran Male, Class Omega. Use lethal force. No exceptions. Failure to comply. Treason. Her hand tightened around the device. "They know you're still alive." Reese nodded. "I figured." They're ordering me to kill you. He looked up at her, calm. Are you going to? She hesitated. I don't know. He took a step toward her. His voice was quiet but firm. You could have let me die 3 times already. Yes. So why are you still here? Vera looked at him, at his wounds, his calm eyes, his stubborn strength. Because I think the galaxy is wrong about humans. And your people. They trained me to obey, but they never trained me to question. She tossed the communicator into the fire pit nearby. It sizzled and cracked. There, no more orders. Reese raised an eyebrow. That easy? No, she admitted, but worth it. Above them, distant thrusters roared. Another shuttle approached. Vera checked the sky. They're sending elites now, not mercs, not hunters, not cleansers. Then what? Krellian paladins, our holy enforcers. They don't miss, and they never question orders. Reese looked at the broken armor at his feet. Then we give them a reason to. They spent the next hour turning the drop base into a trap. Power lines were rerouted to spark at pressure. Old fuel tanks were cracked, turned into makeshift bombs. Vera fused her last plasma core into a single, unstable pulse cannon. Reese crafted spikes from broken metal and positioned them carefully. You sure you're ready to fight your own kind? He asked. She didn't blink. The moment they told me to kill someone who saved my life, they stopped being my kind. Then, the sky went dark. 3 Krellian paladins dropped through the clouds. Tall, glowing armor, weapons humming, no faces behind their helmets. They landed like thunder. One of them raised a hand. Vera Thari. Stand aside. She didn't move. No. The lead paladin's voice echoed. Then you are marked as corrupted. So be it. Reese stood beside her. The paladins looked at him. Terran Subject 47B. You are an unauthorized biological experiment. Prepare for termination. Reese smirked. You first. The trap exploded. The forest lit up in fire. 2 paladins fell, one vaporized, the other thrown into a tree, armor cracking. The third stormed forward, straight toward Vera. She blocked, his blade with her arm guard twisting, using her own momentum to flip him onto the ground. Reese shot his blaster, twice, into the exposed joints. Silence returned. Smoke rose. The air stung with ash. Vera looked around, then back at Reese. You're still standing? He nodded. So are you. Together they looked up at the stars. There would be more enemies, more orders, more missions. But now, they weren't alone. The galaxy was watching word spread quickly. An unauthorized human had survived a Krellian purge. A sentinel had disobeyed high command. 3 elite paladins had been defeated by 2 fugitives. The galaxy took notice. Vera Thari paced the broken hull of the old base, now patched together with scraps and hidden under a cloaking net. Reese sat near the window, sharpening a salvage blade. The news feeds are calling you the ghost medic, she said without looking at him. Catchy, Reese replied. But wrong. I didn't do it alone. They don't know that, yet. She tossed him a new data pad, stolen from the last dropship. Reese scrolled through it. We're on bounty list now, multiple systems, Krellian, Huskari, even neutral zones. Your face is worth 10,000 credits, Vera smirked. Yours is worth 20,000. He paused. I feel insulted. They both chuckled. But it didn't last long, because overhead, in orbit, something massive had entered the system. A Watcher-class flagship, not Krellian. Not from any empire. Something older. What is that? Reese asked, staring at the scanner. Vera's face turned serious. I've only read about them, the Watchers. They observe conflicts. They decide what species are valuable. So, why are they here? Because the galaxy just saw a human survive what should have been impossible. A transmission came through. Not in a language, but in pulses, symbols, pure data. Vera translated. They are requesting proof. Proof of what? That you're not just strong but different, something worth preserving. Reese stood. You're the one who said I was made into a weapon. Yes. Then maybe it's time I proved I'm more than that. Vera and Reese exited the base together and stood in the clearing. A beam of light came down from the ship, silent, golden, powerful. But it didn't pull them up. It simply scanned. Memories, pain, survival, compassion, defiance, everything. Then the light vanished. The sky cleared, and the Watcher ship turned away. Message received. Judgment made. They're leaving, Vera whispered. Good or bad? She looked at the screen one last time. They've marked Earth as potential Apex class. Reese frowned. That sounds like a warning. It is. They were alone again, but not unseen. Now the galaxy knew. Humans weren't just survivors. They weren't just fighters. They were something new. Something that made even an alien queen hesitate. Something that made death itself blink. Reese looked up at the stars. What now? Vera stood beside him. Now, we become the story they'll warn others about. And high above them, across satellites and shadow networks, the story was already spreading. Impossible. The human should be dead, but he still breathes.